Hi, I'm Philippa McDonald, and welcome to a special series of interviews brought to you by Compass on enduring powers of attorney. Thanks for joining Compass.info. When it comes to enduring powers of attorney, what are the specific issues to bear in mind for people living with Alzheimer's, dementia, or mild cognitive impairment?
So it is finding people or someone that you trust that will uphold your values, your choices in life when you're no longer able to make those decisions for yourself. And it is realising that with a diagnosis such as dementia, mild cognitive impairment, you will lose capacity. Once you have the diagnosis, it doesn't mean that you've lost capacity straight away, but we know that it's a degenerative condition and that people will gradually lose more and more capacity. So it's getting in early. It's appointing that person or those people, and it's making sure that your wishes, your choices are of the utmost importance and they uphold those.
What does capacity mean to a person living with Alzheimer's, dementia, or mild cognitive impairment?
So coming from a legal perspective, it's about the person having the ability to make decisions for themselves. So where they're given some information and choices, they can weigh that up and they can then come out and say, well, this is what I've chosen under these circumstances. So it's still having that ability to make those choices, but then when they're losing that ability, that's when we would support them with supported decision making by supporting them to come and still be able to make those decisions for themselves for as long as possible.
Capacity is not always clear in these circumstances. It can fluctuate.
It can, and when you're given a diagnosis of dementia, it's not linear, it's not black and white. You may have capacity to make decisions in relation to your health and well-being for many years, but financially you lose that capacity, and that's where you're thinking ahead and appointing that enduring power of attorney for your financial matters, or it may be your health. But you can also have good days and bad days like we all have, and some days you may have a clearer mindset than others when you're going on that journey with dementia.
And who might that be? It mightn't be the most obvious person.
It could be a family member. You know, quite often culturally it fits into that model of being your partner or your eldest child. But that's not necessarily always the best choice. Sometimes it can be a friend that's very close to you and knows and respects your wishes, and you know that they'll uphold your status and what you want and what you've declared in your documents.
Who decides if you've lost capacity, and is it clear?
Well, normally consulting with a lawyer would be the first step. Thereafter it can involve medical assessments, but obviously when you've got a diagnosis of dementia, your abilities can fluctuate on a daily basis, so it's not always linear or straightforward to decide upon that capacity. It would need to be done over a reasonable amount of time.
What could you include in a financial enduring power of attorney, and why is that important?
Well, it's about having your choices respected. And within that financial enduring power of attorney, it could be about managing your bills, managing your assets, selling property on your behalf, managing your bank accounts. And it's important because you want to know that your wishes have been respected, that your choices that you've made are actually being adhered to, as opposed to just anyone walking in and doing what they want and not having that respect for you as an individual.
What could you include in that financial enduring power of attorney in terms of your wishes to be respected?
Well, the enduring power of attorney is ideal for someone looking to plan long term. And you need to think about things like paying bills, managing your bank account, your assets, even selling property on your behalf long term. So these are all things to consider and make sure are included. Your wishes and your choices are stated very clearly, and the person or people are very aware of what you want.
How do people, and I know we're crossing over a little bit, but how do people living with dementia or mild cognitive impairment manage financial decisions? And tell us about the importance of supported decision making.
So supported decision making is putting the person at the centre of the decision making process. It's making sure they're consulted and they're given time to make those decisions for as long as they possibly can. And that's so important because without it, the person loses their voice. They lose their individuality and their choices aren't actually portrayed to the people that they want to take on that position of enduring power of attorney.
Could you give me an example of how supported decision making might work in terms of an important financial decision?
So as the dementia progresses, there may come a time when you struggle to make those decisions for yourself. There may also be a time where you can still make supported decisions about your health, about your well-being, but not necessarily about your financial situation because you've lost capacity there. It's important that you set this up ahead of time. You work with people that you trust, people that will respect your choices. Then you've got peace of mind, but they've also got peace of mind to know what to do when you no longer have capacity to make those decisions for yourself.
What kind of conversations could you have with the person that you want to be your attorney?
Well, I think having open, honest conversations about your health, talking about the progress of mild cognitive impairment or dementia or any other long-term debilitating illnesses that you may have, and why it's important to you to have your wishes respected. It could be something as simple as the way you want to dress. This is a style, this is a clothing brand that you've always loved, and you want to know that you'll be respected enough to still be able to go in and enjoy wearing that clothing brand, or representing you with that clothing brand.
I hear stories that people have used enduring powers of attorney to steal money from older people. How do you protect yourself from this type of abuse?
People with dementia, mild cognitive impairment, are a very vulnerable group and can be exposed to abusive situations. So again, while you have that capacity, it's very important to choose someone that you've got trust in. As I say, that's not necessarily your partner or your eldest child. It could be someone outside of the family. And another way that you can protect yourself is have more than one enduring power of attorney, because then they've got to be accountable to each other. And that ensures that there's less likeliness of someone abusing your financial situation.
What's the difference between a good enduring power of attorney and a bad one?
Well, an example of a good one would be putting the person at the centre of the decision making, using supported decision making while the person has capacity, taking time to touch base with the person, because at the beginning of your diagnosis you may have made some choices, but then halfway through the diagnosis, when you've still got that supported decision making ability, you may want to update or change those choices. So I think that person has to go on that journey with you. They have to really hold your values and your choices until the end of your life, basically, yeah.
What does a bad enduring power of attorney look like?
I think they would be quite dismissive of your values and choices. They perhaps wouldn't be open to talking about changing the status of them being the enduring power of attorney or changing the choices that you've made. And they would probably assert their opinions and values more than upholding your choices and values.
What should someone bear in mind if someone with Alzheimer's, dementia, or mild cognitive impairment asks you to be the attorney? What should an attorney see as their responsibilities? Because it's quite a commitment, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's the first thing to bear in mind. It is a commitment. Do you have the time? Do you have the capacity to take this on and do the best job possible? And that means taking time to talk to the person, touching base with them regularly, perhaps talking to their solicitor or lawyer or their medical practitioner with them to assist them in their supported decision-making capacity while they've got the capacity to do that or the abilities to do that. So yeah, it's about really thinking, have I got the time and have I got the headspace to put this person's needs, choices, and give them the control they need while they can have it. Yeah.